Welcome back to another installment of the Purple Rain podcast. Once again, welcome to another episode, 162nd episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Let me go through a couple of people, David Sharp, most recently, Mike Flynn, Vlad Dukas, and who can forget Mount Terrence Cody. Goodness gracious, what a mammoth of a human being. I remember he freaking flattened Jamal Charles in the playoffs, made him fumble. Good times.
Good
But
times.
also good times is that we're live. So thank you to everybody
Yes.
coming through to episode 162 of the Purple Rain podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. You can find this guy over here on Instagram, on Twitter at SunDef. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod, on Twitter at simplyas10, and most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. I was thinking about I'm actually about to crack open the nose hair trimmers. I got a new nose piercing, and it was a little too much to maneuver this one. So I'm like, you know what? It kind of gave me a dose of reality. Probably got to use it. So if you want to get that or anything else, or the snazzy bag, the snazzy new razor, which I think is amazing, go to Manscaped, use code PRP, get 20% off and free shipping.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the nose hair trimmer. I actually just used that like 2 days ago. I was like, you know what? It's getting a little, hairy up there for lack of better words. You know what I mean? So I had to go ahead and knock it down with the nose hair trimmer. Works like a charm, by the way. Works like a charm. Charges by USB-C. Super easy to use, man. It charges really fast too. One charge can last you months.
I haven't charged mine in a couple of months.
Yeah. Like it's so great. So make sure you head over to manscaped.com, use our code PRP, save yourself 20%. Plus you get free shipping as well. All right. So this is episode 162, man. I can't believe it, man. We're closing in on 200, like I said on last episode, but this is amazing. Thank you guys so much for coming through and joining this episode. We do have our first super chat donation. Before we get into anything else, we got to bring it up. Chike
from deep.
My guy Chike at the very beginning of the episode, opening the show with a 20-piece. Thank you, bro. Says, I have to say, I've never seen a bigger puppet fest in my life. It's a pre-draft press conference, and the first thing they ask is about none other than our guy, Lamar. Also, why can't EDC answer a direct question with a direct answer?
Wow. Chike, thank you for getting
perfect. Yeah,
right into
this perfectly leads us into our first topic. So thank you, Chike, for the super chat donation. We're going to leave this one up here for a while. We're going to discuss this whole pre-draft Liars Luncheon. Alex, what were your thoughts about it?
Hilarious. Loved it. And I think it's funny that the reporter's name was also Alex too, because like I think he radiated the same energy as I was feeling. If like, are we in Soviet Russia? Are we in Owings Mills, Maryland? Because the question that was asked, I think he was going to ask, pertained to the draft. Yeah, they didn't want to talk about Lamar, but you have to understand that as journalists, they're doing their job, because if you don't see a future with him as your quarterback, are we looking at this draft? Are we looking at somebody on the street right now? I think that was a very fair, question to ask, and for them to shut it down like that, I mean, I really haven't seen that other places. It's happened before 100%, but just for it to be us, like we're the bad kids. We're the kids that are, getting pointed out in front of everybody else, like that we're the bad ones, and we're embarrassed.
Yeah, and I think that it says a lot. The fact that because I'm not exactly sure. I would have loved to know who it was that cut off Alex, the reporter, and said, "Hey, look, we're only talking about draft right now." Like, who was that? Do you know who that was?
Don't wanna. Okay, I think it was Chad Steele, PR, I believe. I think it was him. He's the guy you always see him like near Harbaugh at the end of games when they're going to shake hands with the other coach. Tall dude, right. I'm pretty sure. Him.
Okay. See, that would make sense. A PR guy, that would totally make sense. But I mean, even then, like if the motives are to not talk about Lamar Jackson by any means necessary, that kind of hints at some frustration within the organization. No, so I
Yeah.
mean, you know, like I think that it's very telling, and we can kind of see how this relationship is panning out. I am a firm believer now that I think Lamar Jackson will be moved on draft night or immediately ensuing after the draft. But you know, this whole Liars Luncheon thing, pre-draft press conference, didn't expect to get a whole lot of information out of it. But the biggest piece of information, yes, was exactly that: the fact that they declined all Lamar Jackson comments, or questions rather, which is ridiculous, utterly ridiculous, because literally this whole entire draft for the Baltimore Ravens revolves around the fact that Lamar Jackson is in limbo right now. You know, like we literally do not know what the hell is going to happen with Lamar Jackson. So, you know, if we had some clarity today on whether or not Lamar Jackson was a Raven or not, like if Lamar Jackson's not a Raven, oh yeah, absolutely. We're looking at quarterback round one,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? But if Lamar Jackson is our quarterback, then, you know, maybe we're not going in that direction. Maybe we will get a wide receiver or a cornerback. But a lot of smoke and mirrors, of course, as these meetings always are. They have been for years. It's that time of season, guys. It's that time of season. So let me see what you guys are saying. Bring up some of you guys who are in the live chat. Go ahead, Alex.
Oh no, I think you make a great point about if he's moved, it's probably gonna be on draft night. Something else that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way was the
Yeah,
whole Patrick Queen stuff and the 5th-year option. Um, I unfortunately think he might not be here now, and that's gonna crush my soul because he declined to comment on the 5th year. Uh, I mean, EDC. Why are you gonna draft somebody in the first round if they're not gonna get the second contract? I understand that we got Roquan in here, but now when looking at it, I mean, I'm happy he's here, but and then just with the whole pick stuff, he was complaining. He's like, "Oh well, we wish we had more picks." You've picked 10, 11 people. Ben Mason hasn't even touched the field. Sean Wade's not even on the team anymore. Tylan Wallace can't even get a shot at receiver. Uh, we can keep on going through our late round picks. They just don't get a chance to impact. So now you're saying you want all these picks. How do we know that you're even going to be worth it? That's where I'm at. How Ben Cleveland was a what 3rd round pick? He can't even see the field. So
yeah.
was that was you reaching? Was it scouting that was bad? I don't know what it is, but what they're
I
doing right now
mean,
is kind of flawed.
I think it's culture. You know, I think a lot of it is just, you know, they want to stockpile draft picks so they have a higher opportunity, a higher chance percentage wise to hit on a player. They've always liked to draft. And then also you look at a lot of those players that you just named, a lot of those guys, defensive guys, you know, like they love the defense. And the fact that they went out and they picked up a Roquan Smith this past season, right? I think that if we were being realistic Ravens fans, we would know that, okay, maybe Patrick Queen is on the outs. You know, I think Patrick Queen, if I'm speaking objectively, he's played just well enough for the Ravens to warrant, you know, sending him somewhere else, you know, for some pretty decent capital because they already have a Roquan Smith and they don't want redundancy at that position, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's very realistic. The fact that you just brought it up, like it's like stuck in my head now. It's a very real possibility that our guy Patrick Queen, again, friend of the show, we love him, we want him here in Baltimore. But it is a very real possibility that he could be, you know, moved.
Yeah. And what's it say about you when you've traded your 1st-round picks back to back years? Uh, you know, so you got to take a long look in the mirror for that one if that were to happen. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. We do have another super chat donation. This one's coming from Max
What's
Offit
going on?
himself.
Missed it.
Here to the streets, Max, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. Thank you, bro, so much. Dropping the 5 piece in the chat, making it rain. You guys are making it rain early and often here on this
Yes.
episode 162 of the show. Thank you so much. Says with how much they praised Joey Porter, you know they mid on him and love Witherspoon.
Yeah. Playing those mind games. I mean, we didn't even hear anything about Hamilton last year, but he did fall. But I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's going to fall to 22 like Hamilton fell last year.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
yeah, they were really high. Like they spent a good amount of time talking about Joey Porter, a good amount.
really.
And yeah, and then one thing too, kind of talking about the draft. I think Quentin Johnson could be the pick at 22 the way they were talking about him, because they were talking about his drops, which are an issue. And they kind of were, I'm not going to say making excuses for it, but they're like, well, we look at that and say, well, is it a placement of the hands issue? Is it a tracking issue? Or is it just, him dropping an issue? Because it's that receivers are going to have drops. That was a big takeaway I got. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Quentin Johnson is a Raven come 2.5, 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today, I think. Yeah. Or, 3 weeks. So yeah, that was really interesting too. But yeah, the Joey Porter stuff, like you would have thought he was already a Raven the way they were talking about him.
Interesting. The Ravens they're looking very heavily at the wide receiver and cornerback position, for the first pick, number 22 in this year's draft. So we'll continue to monitor that. That is a very interesting thing, to be honest with you, especially considering, this whole Lamar situation. Pick 22. I feel like we find ourselves picking in this range a lot where we're not good enough to really be kind of resting on our success, so to say.
Yeah.
But we're not bad enough to be getting a high draft pick. So the draft for us is really a weird place, and that's why I think last year was kind of a cool outlier. We got pick number 14 and we got a really good player in Kyle Hamilton. I think he's going to develop pretty nicely. But moving along here. Let's go ahead and move along. Let me see what you guys are saying. Tandra Bowman says PQ probably already knows that. That's why he unfollowed the Ravens. I didn't know he unfollowed the Ravens.
On what? He did?
I did not know that. That's interesting. He did. Maybe we got to get him back on the show and talk to him and be like, hey, man, what's going on? Who knows? Let me see. So Yolanda says if there is a wide receiver who has issues with drops, the Ravens will certainly go after him. Is it a Ravens move to just get mediocre wide receivers?
Perryman, Piat, that was considered a reach. There's a couple. I think I would take Addison or JSN, obviously, over Quentin Johnson. It just doesn't feel. It'd be a good pick if we had DeAndre Hopkins. I'll say that.
Sure.
I would love it if we got Hopkins. If we're just going to rock with what we have, I'm not going to like it. It's not enough. And it's going to be too much pressure on a guy coming straight to the NFL for him to be putting up these numbers, and who knows what happens after that.
Tandra Bowman clarifies here, says, no, he took his stuff off of his page. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Good old NFL offseason stuff. Love it.
Yeah. So, listen, guys, there's not a whole lot of Ravens news that's coming out right now. So, throughout this episode, make sure you drop your comments and your questions down in the live chat. We will get to those. If you're part of the hashtag replay gang, you're not watching live, thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 162 of the show. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We would greatly appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, draft is 3 weeks away.
Yeah, it
3 weeks away, man. And it really does seem like at this point, and I hate to bring up the Lamar situation again, because like we were talking about before we went live, all this news about Lamar just seems like white noise until we actually get the real clarity we're looking for, right? Is he going to sign a deal with us, or is he leaving the Baltimore Ravens? That's really all Simply AS10 and Sutton Def want to know right now. I can speak for both of us when I say that, and the whole entire Reign gang. So with so much uncertainty heading towards the draft, I mean, I wanted to ask you this earlier. What teams do you see potentially maybe trying to trade for Lamar during or directly after the draft?
Directly after, I could see the Niners.
Wow.
Yeah, I could see that because they don't have a pick this year, first round.
Right.
And I think they would definitely be willing to give Trey Lance to us.
Really?
Yeah. Because they've already Purdy's a starter next year. It's what they made it to be. So an undrafted guy is going to start over the number 3 overall pick from 2021.
So why shake all that up by getting Lamar Jackson if they believe in Purdy?
Because we know Lamar Jackson's better. Because and I think Kyle Shanahan knows that Lamar Jackson with Debo, with Ayuk, with Kittle, with CMC.
Oh my God. Jeez.
Yeah, CMC too. The guy who is training like an athletic sprinter. His workouts are insane. See why he's amazing. And knowing with his creativity that he would be somewhere and be with people that he's never been with before, as creative, and the skill set that he would have.
Yeah.
Colts, I think, are doing their due diligence on
Right.
the quarterbacks this one, and that's for the Patriots. That'd be an interesting one because I mean they're kind of in shambles right now. Mac Jones, that whole stuff going on, how it's split even between it's either Zappy or Mac Jones. Half the locker room wants Zappy, half the locker room wants Mac. Yeah,
Yeah, for me, like if I had a if I had a preference, if Lamar were to leave the Ravens, I would definitely want him to be a 49er, like
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Because that's a ring in the making right there. You know what I mean? And just for him, I don't know, if he went to the San Francisco 49ers and won them a ring in his first year there, it would just be like a huge FU to the Ravens. Like, oh yeah, I mean, you didn't pay me, and now look, I'm hoisting the Lombardi trophy in your
yeah.
face. Colts are interesting as well, even though Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, has come out publicly and said that they do want to draft a quarterback. Quarterback, quarterback. I think that either Anthony Richardson or Will Levis would be realistic for
Mhm.
them. I think that they're really eyeing Anthony Richardson. AR-15 has gotten a lot of like media hype in the past, I would say 2 weeks. Ever since I really found out about who this kid was, it seems like he's really just been taken off in the media and everybody's talking about him now. So I don't think he's going to fall to anywhere below pick number 4, right? Pick number 4 or 5, something like that. Um, so yeah, it looks like the Colts are maybe out of the picture. And then the Patriots.
Yeah.
The Patriots are an interesting one to me because, and I was actually on, oh yeah, I was on the Lunch Break Hot Take show last night with Jose and Brodney, and they were asking me about, what I thought about Lamar Jackson potentially maybe going to New England. And I was telling them, like, hey, man, I mean, I think that it makes all the sense in the world to who? Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick for, the vast majority of his career, uh, kind of jockeying for position of who deserves more credit in terms of, for the success, Tom Brady or Bill. Obviously, after Tom Brady left the Patriots, Bill's success had a rapid decline, right? So, what better opportunity to really get back on top to go and get a Lamar Jackson, a quarterback that a lot of other teams have doubts about in terms of his skill, in terms of his health, all these things. Take him, and you love Cam Newton, obviously. That's why you picked him up. So get the younger version, the better version of Cam Newton, aka Lamar Jackson, and go win yourself another ring. Take yourself back to the promised land. Now they're kind of low on weapons. That would be the only thing kind of holding them
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, they have
But
Juju, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry.
yeah,
I think that's about it.
if they could get a D Hop, if they could get like a D Hop out of it as well,
Yeah.
then I think
Yeah.
they'd be in business. I think Bill Belichick would be just fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, and they're in a very tough division. They're probably if Rodgers goes to the Jets, that'd be the hardest division. I'd be fully confident to say that because you have Dolphins, Bills, Jets, and then Pats.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
no doubt.
Belichick and Lamar kind of are. I can see them being like a match made for each other. I always had tons of respect for him. Talks
Yeah.
highly of him. I don't. I would hate to see him in their uniform.
Oh, for sure. I would hate to see it too, but just it would be a good fit, I think, for Lamar. And I feel like a lot of people don't think so because they don't really know who Lamar Jackson really is. But like Lamar Jackson, he's very coachable. He is a coachable dude. And if there's one person that you need to be coachable around is Bill Belichick. And I feel like they would go hand in hand. Bill would know the talents that Lamar has and, really bring it out of him to the best of his ability. So that would be a really good destination for him as well. But the best one, again, would be the 49ers. I would love to see Lamar as a 49er, just like Yolanda
Yeah.
says here.
I mean, I don't want to see it happen, but if he were to,
Of
were to
course.
leave, then yeah, that's
Yeah.
where it'd be. And then with their defense, Warner, Bosa, Hargrave. Oh, that'd be a hell of a team. I'll tell you that
But I
right
mean,
now, hell of
but
a
but
team.
Lamar is not coming back, Alex. Like it's over. I want you to know that. Like it's not gonna happen. I mean, I'm serious because once a player comes out and says he doesn't want to be with the Ravens are going to take that and think about it. Think about it. We only have one press conference to go off of, but ever since Lamar had that tweet storm, the Ravens, they decline to talk about the situation anymore. They don't even want to talk about it. You know, I think that they might already have a deal done, to be honest with
Like
you.
last year. Like
Just
last
like
year.
last year. Yeah.
One thing I'm gonna say is that if stuff starts to come out from like if it sounds fake, it could be very well be true. Because like, oh no, he wouldn't go there. You know, I remember last year with Hollywood, I was like, he's not gonna get traded. No, why? He's coming off a 1,000-yard year. And you're like, well, he can't be going for that, and he might go for that.
Yeah.
So
I cannot wait until the night of the draft. And, you know, we are, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes into the draft. And, you know, because for some reason, Alex always gets news before me. Like, it'd be like maybe a few minutes or like 30 seconds before me, but he always gets it before me. He just has the sources. His ear is to the streets for sure. He will do his iconic phone drop when some big news comes out.
oh
He will just
yeah, I've
drop
done that the
his
past
phone
2
on his
years.
desk. Yeah, he's done it.
I've done
You
that.
go back and watch
I've
the
done
previous
that.
streams. He'll just drop his phone on his desk and be like, "Yeah, we just did this," and I'm just like, "What?" Like on the other
Yeah, it was
side,
when we
like,
picked Bateman, I
yeah,
was hype, and then when we traded Hollywood, I was upset. Yeah,
yeah. I'm waiting for the iconic phone drop this year. I
phone
can't wait
drop.
to see what news is going to be.
Hopefully, it's like something good. Like it's like we extended him. Imagine that, but I'm not expecting
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah,
That would be
yeah, yeah.
something, and like they saved it up, but they're not. It's not no WWE. It's not no storyline. You know, it's not
Right.
probably not gonna happen.
Ah, man. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Think
All
about
right, let's see what some of you guys are saying here in the chat. Make sure you drop some questions down
it. And
here
the like.
below as
Drop the
well.
like.
Yeah, and the likes. Drop the likes too. Drop the likes. Let me see. Pretty Boy Suave says, "Did you see Harbaugh's face when a reporter asked about the quarterback situation?"
Yes, loved
Mm,
it. I loved it. He was shook. He didn't
yeah,
know.
he didn't. I mean, I kind of feel bad for Harbaugh too because like the negotiations and everything is really not up to him. You know, what happens with Lamar Jackson. He's just really his coach. I don't think he's the ones, you know, in those meeting rooms saying like, well, Lamar, you know, you have been hurt and, you know, you haven't really shown the ability to throw consistently or whatever they might be saying to Lamar Jackson's face, in his face. I don't think that John Harbaugh is really a part of those discussions. Maybe he is. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but I don't think he is, though. I think that's more of GM owner thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, as for a GM, I feel like EDC wants to get it done.
Yeah.
As I think it's probably the owner. Yeah,
Mm.
because I think he probably has the final say, much like
Yeah.
you know the U.S. president. You know, something goes by, but they have the final say. They can
Yeah.
veto it or they can let it go through. That's probably what it is.
Right.
And as just that word contract, I was gonna just try to go over it, but we don't know. And in a couple of months, we're gonna know everything about it. I think there's gonna be more and more stuff that comes out, and it's probably gonna make us look even worse. So
Wow. The Ravens have such a patterned history. You know, like we were in this exact same predicament, I think, like what, 13 years ago, you know? Well, not 13 years ago, probably about 10, no. Yeah, like 11 years ago. So we didn't want to pay Joe Flacco. Steve Bisciotti did not want to pay Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco went out there and won a Super Bowl. Now, why did he win a Super Bowl? Because they also got him a top tier weapon named Anquan Bolden, you know. And then after they won the Super Bowl, Bisciotti had no problem opening up the paycheck and you know and just signing or whatever Flacco wanted. What was it? I
120
think
M's.
120 million, and that was just huge at the time, you know. So now, fast forward a decade and some change, we're in the same scenario, but the only difference is we have not given Lamar Jackson a number one wide receiver. Like Joe Flacco had a bet on himself year, but they also gave him Anquan Bolden in that year too. Lamar had a bet on himself year, but they gave him Demarcus Robinson. You see the difference? Like it's not
Yeah.
the same. You know,
Can
like
I
it's
can I
sure.
be the Ravens front office? Like
Go ahead.
if let's say he brought that, well, they would be like, well, here, Joe won a playoff game every year.
Mm, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And I feel like that's happening. I feel like it's happening. They're bringing up the I word, and they're very valid points. But at some point, I think both sides you got to meet in the middle. You got to understand that Lamar's done a lot for this team, and the Ravens, you guys haven't done so much. And you understand that he deserves his money, and then you got to say, well, you haven't finished the past 2 seasons. And then you got to say, well, we also haven't given you weapons. So
Yeah.
it's both sides, which really it really pisses me off too. So 8, just 8, stay 8. That's all I got to say. Stay 8.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, I mean, I think you put it perfectly. It's like, okay, well, you didn't finish the last 2 seasons. It's like, okay, well, you also didn't give me weapons. And what's the Ravens' rebuttal?
Right.
Like,
Oh,
what
we
would they
tried.
say? We
We
tried.
tried. Yeah, that's
You
what it
what?
is. Yeah.
You tried. It's like, okay, all right, man. I mean, again, this is all the more reason why. I think a lot of this is on Lamar too, because I think that he should have came to the table for a contract as soon as he was readily available too. I do
2020.
remember, yeah, I do remember him saying like, he was good off talking his contract until, I guess he wanted to win that Super Bowl, but
Yeah.
the way things were going, the Ravens weren't really supplying him with the necessary tools to be able to get that done in that
Yeah.
time frame. So
Yeah.
now we're here. Lamar Jackson is Super Bowl-less, one playoff win, and he's demanding a huge contract. And the Ravens are like, what have you done for us? You know, uh, it's
Yeah.
a sad situation. It's a sad situation. But you just think that the Ravens would think back to what is it, 2017? Or 2015 through 2017, those seasons, 2 3 seasons where we were just miserable, right? Yeah, you
It
would think they think
sucked
back to
being
that.
like a Raven fan, like 11th and 12th grade. I remember how bad that was for me. It
Yeah,
was, yeah, I was getting mocked by all the non-Ravens fans. God forbid I wore a Ravens jersey. It wasn't good. Uh, and then even I remember the 2017 year. What was that? We lost to Tyler Boyd. Oh my God, that Tyler Boyd catch lives in
oh
my
yeah,
head rent free.
yeah,
Goodness gracious. I thought Alex Collins was gonna Irish jig his way to the playoffs. That didn't happen. And like and the sad thing is like those teams were not the best. We were still in contention, like with the AB catch, and then so in 16 and 17, we are in contention with Flacco, who just was bang average with zero weapons. Like we had Steve Smith playing on like his last leg. Mike Wallace was solid. Then we had other receivers that just weren't going to cut it. So it's like and we still haven't even you know seen that maybe we should just add to the offense. Nope, haven't learned. Haven't learned from our mistakes.
it's a shame. It's a shame. You would think that they would, maybe switch it up, try something different.
Yeah,
I thought maybe that's what Eric DaCosta was going to bring to the organization, and it seemed kind of that way for the first, season and a half or 2 seasons, but after that, there's definitely been some questionable decisions made for sure.
yeah.
All right, Jabari Cruz Ellis in the house. What's going on, bro? Says we need to
So
get rid of Harbs. Like Harbaugh is the real issue here. I mean, also Harbaugh was on the hot seat. We have to continue to bring that to the forefront. Before Lamar, Harbaugh was on the hot seat for his job.
yeah,
So eh, if the Ravens go into this season with no clarity at who is the QB1, if we're going into the season like, oh, yeah, it's probably going to be Tyler Huntley or Anthony Brown. You know what I mean? If we're going through the season like basically, yeah, stitching things along like a bridge here, I think Harbaugh's going to be on the hot seat. I think he is,
yeah,
especially if we're not winning games.
yeah.
It just is what it is.
With also who's in our division too,
Yeah,
that wouldn't be
division
fun.
stuff.
Oh my
Um,
god.
okay, we're gonna go
Wow.
ahead and we're gonna wrap in a few minutes here. We're gonna go ahead and take just a couple more questions before
Yeah,
we
go through
wrap.
the questions. I that just
Let me see. Dre says, "Have y'all checked out Hendon Hooker? And if so, how would y'all feel about him?" I have not checked out Hendon Hooker. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I watched a couple of Tennessee games. I watched when they beat Bama when Jalen Hyatt like every catch was a touchdown. Watched a couple of Tennessee games. If we got him, I'm like, well, okay. I wouldn't be
What
sitting here jumping off the walls.
what build is he? Like, what kind of build of a quarterback is he?
Let me try to get a comp for him.
Okay.
Because that's like the best way I know. For me, like getting a comp because like sometimes when I hear like what they're good at, I'm like, okay, but everybody's good and bad. So what's like their
It's
NFL
like
comp? So
explain in NFL terms.
right. So I'm on NFL.com. So
Yeah.
before anybody says anything, um, NFL comparison Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter. I mean, what the fuck do I need to go watch Desmond Ritter highlights or something now? Like, what?
Hey, I mean, the Falcons are going to stick with him at quarterback over Lamar, so maybe they know something that we don't.
No, I think that they're nah, this smoke and mirrors. I think what pick did the Falcons have in this draft? You know,
They're top 7, I think. I
top
believe.
7.
Yeah.
Hmm. Do you really think that they're satisfied with? Oh my God,
Did you
I don't
hear
I don't think they
Calais
are.
said that he wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons are playing in January?
I didn't
Calais,
hear that.
yeah,
I did
I
not
love
hear
you.
that.
I mean, maybe because that division is so piss poor,
Yeah.
maybe they win the division like at 7-10. No,
Nah, that's not gonna happen. Calais is tripping for that one. I'm not gonna lie.
I respect it though. I respect, he's the leader, but
I mean, that's what he does. That's who he is,
yeah.
But you're tripping on that one, Calais. They're not making any noise this year, especially not with Desmond Ritter.
So
Um,
I'm gonna go to CBS and see, their Hendon Hooker NFL comparison. They say Geno Smith. Oh, Kiwi Wood says
Geno
Geno
Smith.
Smith. There you
Hmm.
go.
I mean, Geno
They
Smith.
wrote me off. I didn't write back.
Oh my God.
Hendon Hooker didn't write back.
Oh my God. Hendon Hooker, Geno Smith comparison. I love it. Chike with another super chat donation, making it rain here on this episode of PRP. We thank you, bro. Says, how would I do as an owner of this team, gang? An owner of the team?
He's not scared to throw around the cash.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, I guess you'd be pretty damn okay, right? I mean, all being an owner is, to me at least, I feel like it's just delegating a bunch of responsibilities to a lot of other people and just throwing your money at them. I mean,
Yeah,
that's really what it is. A lot of these owners, they buy teams kind of for fun. It's like a toy, you know?
yeah.
Like
Side
so
quest.
exactly. Perfect way to put it. It's like a side quest for these guys. They have so much money they don't even know what to do with it. They just buy a team. And they barely even put any direction into the team.
And it's funny, like I feel like with the Ravens right now, I've lived through like what they're going through with this team. That like this same team was in the same spot. Star player didn't have a contract, and I feel like I wouldn't be surprised this year if like fans, if it gets a little bad. I feel like it's been bad this offseason. Now let's say he were to go, I feel like it get really bad like at the stadium, like lots of empty seats depending what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's a really good point. I mean, because number 8, he was putting butts in seats now. That's for
yeah,
sure. There was a lot of number 8 jerseys in that stadium. So if they move on from him, they have to expect a dip in, just attendance and engagement overall. They have to expect that, you
hmm
know? So, like, I mean, it's so funny to me that they're so hung up on, like, paying Lamar Jackson $200 million. But if you don't pay him $200 million, like, what are you going to lose, Because you're not going to have a quarterback to be putting butts in seats like that. All those big contracts on defense are going to go to waste because there's no quarterback to facilitate wins. So I
yep.
mean, you're going to end up. It's going to be end up being like not a positive. It's going to be a net negative. Like so. I don't. I'm confused on what this ownership is thinking right now.
hmm Yeah, and like with the defense, I think about how much talent we have. If we just go through and talk about this defense, we can start, Humphrey, Hamilton, Marcus Williams,
Yeah,
and then Roquan Queen, and then Ojabo, Owe, Michael Pierce, Matabike, hell, Broderick Washington. Why would you even want to waste that? That's yeah,
makes no sense. Makes no sense.
yeah.
Tanja Bowman says here, Bishotti to me shows he just wants to make money, not actually win it all by his moves. He also said he was going to keep the team a few more years on Studio 44.
So is he like in a transition period? Like getting ready to. If you keep it for a few more years, selling a team takes a while.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Commanders. get the right price. I don't
Even
think they'll
how
be
toxic
sold.
that is, yeah.
Right, and like that should be easy considering how like he's on the way out, how he has allegations against him.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let me see.
Yeah,
Tom's just saying Calais only said what he said because he just got paid.
yeah,
It was his introductory presser. I mean,
that's
yeah,
fair.
you know the type of guy Calais is. All right. Let me see. Chike says because if I was an owner, I'm sacking everyone and bringing actual coaches. Dang, Chike's a fiery guy, man. He wants to fire everybody.
He's saying no.
Clean
All the heads,
house.
yeah, the heads are coming off.
Yeah,
Heads are coming
yeah.
off. No nonsense.
Alex, I wanna end it with this. I wanted to ask you about this weekend's UFC card. I wanted to ask you about Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Who do you think is winning that fight?
Who do I think or who do I want? That's two different things.
Who do you? Well, dang it. Well, based on now that you said that, I
Yeah,
pretty much know your answer. But
yeah.
so I'm guessing. I'm guessing. Let me just go ahead and guess it for you. Do you think that Pereira is going to win, but you want Izzy to win?
There you
Bingo.
go.
That's kind of mostly everyone.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. For me, I actually think Izzy's going to win.
Please.
I think Izzy's going to win this one. To be honest with you, I mean, I was saying it last night on the LBHT show. Shout out to them. I was saying like, hey, the last fight, Izzy was winning for 20 minutes out of the 25. I mean, he got stopped in the last round. You know, the problem with what Izzy was doing is that he was not being intentional about finishing the fight. He just wanted to outpoint Pereira. Make sure that he was winning the fight, not to make sure that he won the fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
So yeah, so I think, and actually today I was watching an interview with him, and he actually said, yeah, this time I need to like keep my foot on the gas and actually focus on putting this dude away, not just trying to like, make sure that I'm landing more strikes than him and looking better as a fighter than him. Put him away because he's still dangerous all the way up until the last second. So I think that Izzy knows what he needs to do in this fight, and give me a third round TKO, Izzy.
Please. Now, my biggest worry is like the mental stuff. How do you feel about that? Because he's never beat him.
Yeah,
That's my biggest worry. It's just because that definitely plays a part. I don't care what anybody says.
sure.
It's in there because it's like I just can't knock him out. I can't beat him. I can't stun him. Daze him. Like.
Well, he has stunned him. He stunned him
Okay.
really, really bad in their last fight.
Yeah,
End
I
of the
remember
second,
that.
he almost finished him at the end of the second round. He hit him with a right hand. He like kind of wobbled, and then he hit him with another left hook clean right on the chin, and he really wobbled like up and down, like, and the bell rung right at the right second. So he got to get out of that round.
Yeah.
But I mean, Izzy they fought for, let's say, probably like, in terms of cage time, I would say almost an hour at this point. Izzy has probably won 70% of the fights, like in terms of like actually winning, outpointing. But the problem is he just doesn't close the fights. He doesn't finish them, So I think that he's going to be more intentional about that this time. He's going to actually pull it off and get the W.
Can't finish, matches, game. Sounds familiar. Not being able to finish.
Yeah. We can relate. We can relate.
Getting to the red zone and not finishing a drive. Sounds
Facts.
familiar. Sounds familiar. But I hope you're right, though. I hope you're right. Isn't Masvidal fighting too on Saturday?
Yes, Jorge Masvidal will be fighting Gilbert Burns. Yes, on Saturday. I think that is I want to say it's the co-main. I could be wrong, but yeah. In that fight, I've got Gilbert Burns. I love Jorge Masvidal, but his success was kind of like a flash in the pan after that big knee. Hasn't really done a whole lot since then, I would say. But yeah, give me Gilbert Burns in that one. He's an absolute savage. Yeah, give me Burns.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to it. I will be watching in Miami.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
I won't Saturday be in Miami. Night. I'll be here. I won't be in Miami.
I didn't even know the card was in Miami. That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's gonna be finishing late there. So
yeah,
good luck to everybody trying to get out of there at night.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and leave it there for this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast, episode 162. Make sure you leave a like on this video. Please subscribe if you are new to the channel. We'd appreciate that a whole bunch. Love you guys, and also make sure you follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast, like you see down below. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. You can follow this guy over here on Twitter at SimplyAS10, on Instagram at SimplyAS10.prod, and make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel, SimplyAS10, if you haven't already. Then last but certainly not least, our sponsor, Manscaped. You can go on their website, and I'm talking about the Manscaped, the number one nationwide leader in male's personal hygiene below the belt. You can go on their website, use our code PRP, our promo code, to save 20% off, plus free shipping. Doesn't get much better than that. Again, appreciate all of you guys for coming through to this episode of the show. With that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Once again, thank you for coming through episode 162 of the Purple Rain Podcast. And Lisa, yes, happy Easter to those who celebrate on Sunday.
Yes.
Forgot. And happy Passover, too. It is Passover.
Absolutely.
Happy Easter, happy
Shout out
Passover.
to K-Dog, too. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Totally forgot. I should know. Have both of those on my chain right here, but yes. Sorry, but thank you for coming through episode 162 of the Purple Rain Podcast. And as always, stay positive, test negative. And one more thing.
Yeah, and never, ever, 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 ever forget to call God. It's been episode 162 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We're going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.